sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beasts wheel to wheel around the hallowed ground. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet, the perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series presented by Next Level Racing starts now. It is time to survive the streets of Long Beach as the Lionheart Retro Series reaches the end of 2022. Challenges still present themselves. Today, on the streets of Long Beach, a Royal Rumble. The last man standing will walk away in HyperX Victory Lane. This is the Golden City, and this is the SimRace 24/7 Grand Prix of Long Beach, presented by Gomez Sim Industries. Hello everyone, and welcome to racespottv and the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside today is the one and only Andrew Kinsella for what is bound to be an electric race coming off the heels of the Lionheart IndyCar Series' trip to the Michigan International Speedway. Let's dive straight though into the Next Level Racing pre-race show. And Andrew, you and I have had this debate in the past. We've got 2 great American street courses available here on iRacing. The streets of Long Beach, the streets of the Motor City in Belle Isle. You think that Belle Isle is maybe a little bit bumpier? You think to race, this is the track that we should be focusing on?
Yeah, absolutely. This is my favorite speedway, or street race, sorry. Basically, you have the braking zones here that you don't have at Belle Isle. You have this long front straightaway, you have these tight corners, but you have the braking zones, you have the width in the track to actually be able to make moves, and it is just so exciting. There's so many more opportunities for passing here, and I think that's what we're going to see here today, is a lot of people trying to make moves, especially early on in the race, and trying to find a way to get towards the front, because this is one place where you cannot afford to let the car get away from you, because the walls are all just so close to the side of your car, and it's just one of those places where talent rises to the top, and that's what we're going to see here today. Arjuna, is just talent absolutely has to be on point here.
Of course, a great history of racing at this facility. 1975, the first race on the streets of Long Beach, and the neighborhood has grown with the race itself as well. Now, of course, plays host to IMSA, the IndyCar Series, and a doubleheader. What fun it is as cars of all different types navigate their way through the fountain. Of course, the second half of the season is a little bit more spread out. It will be a almost full month wait before we go racing again at Twin Ring Motegi for the Grand Prix race. Let's talk though about the Next Level Racing driver standings, because Mike Rasmussen leads now by more than 30 full points. Michael O'Brien is chasing him down. Rasmussen, after missing a race, has managed to build himself back up, and it's at this juncture in the championship, Andrew, that we do start to think about how, for these drivers, they can ensure they're in the right positions at the right times as we wind into those final races of the championship.
Yeah, it's also close, isn't it, Arjuna? The top 5, or the top 4 at least, is very, very close in this championship, and really any of them have a shot at this. It's one of those things where you need to find ways to make points on your opponents, so you really have to start being cognizant of where the other drivers in the championship are in any given race, and you have to set your goal for that race to finish in front of your opponents. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself losing points and losing positions in this championship, and given how close it is, anyone in that top 4 can really win it at this point.
And of course, you see a couple of names in that team column. Graphics LC Motorsports started 1, 2, and 3 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Madworks Motorsports started to build after that, but if you look at the HyperX Team Championship, it is now down to 27 points, with Graphics LC jumping back to the front. What a tight battle it is between them. Raven Lavoie with some separation, some no man's land in the battle for third, but fourth on back sees plenty of fighting. We've got some strong teams at the front trying to fight and prove their mettle in this championship, of course, with the Avatar Order Racing squad blinkering up after the end of 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a knockdown, drag-out fight this entire year between Graphics LC and Madworks Motorsports. They've really been going at each other race over race, and you can tell that both of those teams really want this team championship, because even when they haven't necessarily had the best days, they've been trying to be out there maximizing points. Raven Lavoie a little bit on an island of its own, but then it really gets into a knot for positions 4 through 8, where it's really anyone's game for sort of the back half of the top 5 for the bragging rights in this team championship. And make no mistake, all of these teams really want that bragging rights of being towards the sharp end of this field.
And whoever wins the driver standings championship, will be looking to push their team forward into the HyperX Team Championship as well in this 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. Let's talk to you, though, about the buttkicker rookie standings, which sees David Rodriguez, after the partial campaign that he ran in 2021, building in 2022, now more than 100 points clear of the likes of Rodrigo Munoz. Backfire Motorsports represented by 3 of their drivers inside of the top 6 positions. And when Jim Herrick, the winner of our first Triple Crown race, is down in 7th, it gives you the indication of just how competitive this rookie class has been.
Absolutely, it's been competitive here this year. You can tell just by how close 2nd through really 10th place is here, separated by just over 70 points there between those two drivers. And there's some really big names there. Adam Fraser, of course, has been a veteran of the Lionheart series, not in the Retro series, but in the Speedway and in the IndyCar series. And you can tell just by how much he's been struggling here in the Retro series, just how much talent there is in this field. But right now in the Retro, or in the rookie standing, it's all about David Rodriguez and that point gap that he has built up over the course of this season so far.
To some degree, I think Rodriguez will be disappointed where he sits in the overall championship, but at the very least, Rookie of the Year will be something to add to the catalogue. It's the 6th year of the Lionheart Retro Series. In year 9 of the Lionheart Racing Series, we're campaigning the Lotus 79, a car designed to conquer tracks around the world, albeit not ovals. We challenge it, though, across of the plethora of ovals that America has to offer. We take it road course racing across the globe as well. A custom fixed setup built by the man sitting across from me in the racespottv commentary booth, with cash and prizes totaling up to over $7,000. Our champion walks away with the Next Level Racing GT Track cockpit, as well as a Moser Racing direct drive wheelbase and Formula steering wheel. Just one Triple Crown race left. It's the final race of the season at Auto Club, as we look to crown not just a new series champion, but a new team champion as well. And with that look at the series details, let's talk about the Moser Racing event details as we roll back onto the streets of the international city for just the 3rd time in 6 seasons of this championship. And while it's difficult to pass, pole position has ended the race 2nd in both the previous trips here. With just 6 drivers finishing on the lead lap 12 months ago, attrition will be a major talking point, and with the race lap record being faster than the qualifying record, we know the pace will pick up as the fuel burns off, as the tires start to get into the groove. The margin of victory on average has been just under 0.7 of a second. By no means are you allowed to run away. The pressure builds to the very end of this race. And Andrew, as we talk about the challenges that the just under 2 miles of the Long Beach, California streets have to offer these drivers, bumps is one, tight confines is another, and surviving traffic will be 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll add one more, and that's that hairpin that you see at the bottom right of your screen there. That hairpin is going to be so tricky for these drivers today, Arjuna. The power and the torque, especially of these Lotus 79s, really comes into play on those low-speed corners. It's going to be so treacherous getting off of that corner, and we're going to see a number of incidents over the course of today with drivers just not being able to control the wheel spin of the tires as they get off of that hairpin and onto that long front straightaway.
Great look from up above as We work through qualifying. 10 minutes get thrown on the clock. Drivers get the track to themselves and 4 attempts. A lot of the times in the IndyCar series, we see drivers take the first flying lap as an attempt, burn the second and third laps to get a fresh set of tires onto the car, and then go for one final flyer. But in this car, with the way that the bi-supply tires burn off as the fuel goes as well, by no means will you see drivers electing to come back down to pit lane. As it stands right now, it was the man that was fast in practice that's going fast in qualifying. Sean Campbell on series debut sits on provisional pole with a 1:12.326. Matt Taylor sits in second, with our championship leader coming to the line, currently running up in 7th. But as always, the margins are fine in qualifying. The top 5 split by just over 0.2 of a second.
And Mike Rasmus, in fact, gets himself up into 3rd with that lap that he just completed there, and he's got a couple more laps to go here. And as you know, the longer that these drivers go on this qualifying, the faster that they're going to go. So expect that these times in this order will change as we get closer to that time winding down. But right now, it's all about the debutant right now. Sean Campbell has just been setting this field on fire, and he has not improved his best lap this time by, so that's a little bit of a surprise there from Campbell, and it puts him in a very vulnerable spot, particularly with Taylor, Fowler, and Rasmus so close to the back of him.
He will start what is going to be his final attempt in qualifying through the fountain section. Going to be very important that you just get through there on lap number 1. We've seen drama so far in this 2022 season. Here comes Sirois building to the line. The 99 car has been on pole a couple of times this year. Can he do it once more? 5th at the time being, across the line to finish his final lap, and will jump to the front with a 1:12.197, just over a 10th quicker than everyone behind.
Valiokis goes second here, so that's a couple of drivers showing just how fast you can go on that final lap, but we still got a number of drivers on track that can go even faster than that. And you're on board with one of them right now, winding his way through the final couple of corners is Sean Campbell. Will the debutant be able to put it on pole? He locks up into the hairpin there just a little bit. It's going to be close here at the line. Will Sean Campbell be able to put this car on pole here?
It's under a 1:12.
Like it.
A 1:11.968. What a rookie. What a way to kick off your campaign in the Lionheart Retro Series. Almost a full quarter of a second quicker than the rest of the cars behind.
That is absolutely the type of impact that you want to make on your series debut. Sitting on the pole at a track like this is no mean feat, but there's still a few more drivers on track that can displace Sean Campbell. Luke Daniels had a solid lap going, but I don't think he's going to be quite fast enough there. In fact, a 12.713 there, so not fast enough for Luke Daniels. He'll remain in 8th position here.
iracing did a great job of modeling not just the track itself, but everything that surrounds this race and the festival of speed that it has become. There's the aquarium, center of your shot. The car's power just past that on the run down the back straightaway into the final sector of corners. What a fantastic track it is. Of course, it's changed over the years as well. Most of the cars done in qualifying. Don't think we'll see any improvement, with a couple of end-of-line penalties to talk about as well. Michael O'Brien, David Rodriguez will drop to the very back of the field. But there are 3 other cars with no lap times put on the board. Calisto and Zaldo and Nunez will round out the field of just under 28 cars for today's race. Andrew, in terms of passing opportunities, turn 1, the run down the back straightaway, and anywhere that someone makes a mistake.
You pretty much summed it up there, Arjuna. Yeah, the back straightaway is sort of a sneaky passing opportunity because you don't see it as a very long straightaway, but at the same time you can get a good run going if you get through the back section. And then there's a couple more places, turn 5, turn 6, being sort of the more daring opportunities for some of these drivers, and we will see some overtakes there, but definitely turn 1 is the place that you really want to try to make that move happen, because you just have such a long run there from that hairpin all the way down that front straightaway.
And in the situation, if you're at the back of the field, let's say you're Michael O'Brien involved in the championship hunt, other than giving this race up as one of your drop weeks, what goes through your mind? What's the plan to get through the chaos of the start?
Yeah, the number one thing for a driver like Michael O'Brien is he's got to be focused on survival. He's got to find a way to pick his way through the inevitable carnage that happens in the first few laps of a race on a street course. He's got to find a way to get through cleanly, have no damage on his car, and just from there pick your way through methodically. It can't be all in one. You can't have too much aggression on a track like this. You just got to be methodical, patient, and pick your battles and pick your moves, and you can definitely still have a very good finishing result if you're a Michael O'Brien, but you have to do this right.
It's going to be a 64-lap race with the fuel window anywhere from 26 to 28 laps. So a guaranteed two-stopper, but a big fuel margin. Where will drivers look to find time on pit road with our defending race winner Aaron Morgan watching on from the sidelines? What a qualifying session it was for Sean Campbell on series debut, and in the independent entry, not scored for points here today, but in the RSR by buttkicker colors, the 26 will lead us to the green. To his outside will be the ever-rapid David Sirwa, but almost a quarter of a second off the pace. The 99 got some work to do to close the front of the field. Valiokas and Taylor make up row 2 with Fowler and Rasmas right behind. Richie Herr and Luke Daniels, 2 cars looking to build on some good speed in the last couple of weeks, rolling from 7th and 8th. Gabe Wood and Jim Herrick make up the rest of the top 10, with Adam Frazier and Ricky Hardin lining 11th and 12th positions. Alex Guyon sees Chris Reagan to his left-hand side, with Cristobal Valenzuela and Danny Roberts 15th and 16th. Sharing row 9 is Rodrigo Munoz and Trevor Malone for the Backfire Motorsports and the independent entry. Bookending the top 20, it's Hugo Gallus and Craig Forsyth with Chris Lanini and Cody Wenzen. Some of the final cars with lap times on the board. Mark Cohn in the 39 will be 23rd in the Avatar Order Racing with Graphics LC entry. David Rodriguez, end-of-line penalty to serve, will drop to the tail of the field with Luis Gonzalez, Nunez, Lionel Calisto, Michael O'Brien and George Anzaldo making up the field of 28 cars. That was a look top to bottom at your butt kicker starting grid. It's always a nervy moment for drivers as they get to the grid. One thing that I think will benefit these guys though, Andrew, is the fact that we are well and truly into the season. These drivers know where they stand, they know what they have to do. When you came here in the Lionheart IndyCar Series, it was at the very start of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. These drivers are all very familiar with themselves, bar one, and that is your pole sitter of Sean Campbell. Most of these drivers up front have raced with each other very well throughout the course of this season, but they don't know what Sean Campbell's going to do. They haven't raced against him yet, so that's going to be the big story here, is how does Sean Campbell react to sitting on pole here? What happens at the start of this race? How will he race with the likes of David Sirwa, Matt Taylor, Chris Fowler? How does he race around those championship contenders? This is going to be a big story to follow as we get into the start of this race.
How will the RSR by buttkicker teammates work together at the start of this race? We're ready to go for 64 laps of utter survival on the streets of Long Beach. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and this is the start of the Sim Race 24/7 Grand Prix of Long Beach, presented by Gomez Sim Industries. The field thunders down into turn 1. A great start from Campbell. An aggressive look to the inside by Matt Taylor. Maybe covering off the move from behind him. Safely through turn 1 they go, but into the fountain they have to single file it out. They've realized that to get through here means they set up the rest of the race. Ricky Hardin gets checked up, but it's a nice tidy start for the entirety of the field.
Oh no, Jim Herrick has spun just coming out of the fountain here, Arjuna. It was nice and good throughout most of the first part of that lap, but there was a big incident coming out of the fountain there.
We'll grab a look at the replay, but it does seem as though almost 10 cars got caught up in the melee that devolved after that. Onto the back straightaway they go. Campbell in front of his teammate Valiokas, who jumped in front of Sirwa on the race start. Sirwa under pressure from behind as Taylor looks to the inside into the final section of corners. Not going to get it done. Sirwa holds on to finish lap number 1. Campbell from Valiokas, Sirwa, Taylor, Rasmas, the top 5.
Nice, really solid starting lap there from your top 5, and Sean Campbell doing a really good job from the start of that race. But one big story that I want to highlight there, Michael O'Brien did get caught up in that first lap melee, and it was a late addition of that melee as well, Arjuna.
We talked about how important it would be to stay out of trouble, and while O'Brien suffers, his teammate Taylor able to fend off Rasmas for now. 2 drivers involved in the championship fight, almost coming to blows. A couple more cars to pit road. Calisto, Reagan, Herrick, Wenzen, Valenzuela, and O'Brien. 6 cars, requiring trips to pit road. 2 of those, Valenzuela and O'Brien, requiring the assistance of the tow truck in order to get there. Let's grab a quick look if we can. And Andrew, it started with the smoke, and from there it's the parking lot as drivers try to go through the smoke. They don't all get through safely.
Yeah, there's a number of bent suspensions there throughout the field, but basically it started with a couple of drivers, and you just can see 2x2 through the fountain is never a good idea in the best of times, and just a little bit of contact there coming out of the fountain, and then it just becomes a parking lot here. And then Michael O'Brien, oh, that was just a bad backup from that car that was sitting perpendicular to the track, and O'Brien nowhere to go there.
Remember, 6 cars finished on the lead lap in this race last year. Already 6 cars seemingly out of the race, at the very least, not on the lead lap as we tick on over to lap 3 of 64 in the SimRace 24/7 Grand Prix of Long Beach. We knew it was going to be dangerous on the start. It was even more dangerous than was expected. Campbell, though, starting to run away with his teammate in tow. Campbell's got the impetus that comes without having pressure, with joining a championship midway through the season. For Valiokas, I always now think back to what happened at Watkins Glen when he put it on pole position in what was a statement of a qualifying session, and then made the cardinal sin of speeding in pit lane. And Andrew, it's so easy to do. These cars don't have the modern tools that many have become accustomed to.
Yeah, actually a lot of similarities between that race and that qualifying effort from Valiokas and what Sean Campbell has done here. But I think what will really help Sean Campbell here is having his teammate right behind him, because that'll just allow him to allow him just that little bit more confidence, just a little bit of a buffer that he'll have to the rest of the field. And it'll allow him to be calm, and by the time they get to the pit stops, hopefully he will be error-free. But back in the pack here, we've got a big move here from Matt Taylor on David Sirwa. That was a big lunge there. Taylor tries to get the move off. Sirwa tries to come back at him. They're still going too wide through the fountain.
Yeah, that's a man that knows that if he wants to be in contention for the championship at the end of the year again, he needs to get a move on. He needs to score some points. And with the championship leader only two spots back from Taylor, surely there is some pressure on his shoulders. Sirwa tried to fight back. They went too wide for about as long as you could dare. They survive, and already Sirwa has lost about 7 car lengths to Taylor in front, maybe starting to struggle with his tires.
Yeah, and this has been a little bit of a story for Sirwa so far this year, Arjuna, is he's been really, really fast in qualifying, but when it comes to the race, he hasn't quite been able to put together the drives. Particularly in the early going, he struggled just a little bit with the tires. You can see Mike Rasmus nearly getting in the back of Sirwa there, and he just has a different approach to some of these corners than some of the other drivers, and it just doesn't fire up the tires. Oh, we got a little bit of a melee here coming on the back straightaway. I think that might be Richie Hearn.
I think it's Munoz and Nunez. Not 100% sure. We'll get confirmation as soon as we can. Looks a little bit clumsy as they work their way onto the back straightaway. And in fact, let's dial up the replay. Let's see what happened. We see Nunez already with damage to the left side of the front wing, piles into the corner, and oh, there was a car already there.
Yeah, and that's just really unfortunate there for Munoz, is because he has no idea that the car is going to be there, and a little bit of some clumsy stuff there from some of the drivers at the back of the field. But yeah, definitely nothing that Nunez could do there, because you just can't see around that corner because of the concrete barrier there.
There's a meme to be made out of that one, that is for sure. Campbell breaks away 1.1 clear of Valiokas, so the pace for the 26 is clear. 7,000 I rating coming into this race, the strongest in terms of road I rating in the field. Campbell, a driver that we've seen compete on the likes of the Precision Racing League in our GT competitions on other nights on racespottv, carrying that forward. Lotus 79 is really a lot of fun. Wood and Daniels, a little bit of a moment potentially coming out of the hairpin as Wood goes on the offense. Long way around on the start-finish straight, gives you the inside of turn 1. If you're willing to commit, the JD Esports 04 machine is able to stick it. But assistance there from the 28, and sometimes on street courses, you've got to know when to fight, you've got to know when to let it go.
Absolutely, and one of the times that you have to fight is when your opponent makes a mistake, and that's what happened there with Luke Daniels, as he just made a small mistake coming out of the hairpin, and Gabe Wood was right there to capitalize, and he did a great job getting on the brakes, as you say, and really capitalizing on that mistake into turn 1. So really nice move there from Gabe Wood. But we've got a really good battle here going on behind them. We're riding on board here with Alex Guyon, and he's sort of bringing up the rear of this 4-car battle. But this is far from over between any of these 4 drivers.
Seeing these drivers require tire changes on the ovals in 2022, one of the quirks of this car in years past had been those bias-ply tires being able to go full race distance no matter the type of race, and for all intents and purposes no matter the distance of the race either. But we have seen the load on the tire be a little bit more impactful this year. Not sure if we'll see tire changes on this street course race. We'll find out. Here's the moment through the hairpin Andrew was referring to. You can just see the massive torque through the staggered rear tires, still not able to give him enough traction. Wood didn't need any second invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. But in praise of the improvements that iRacing has been making on those tire models, look at the ability that Daniel's had there to catch that car. In years past, that wouldn't have been possible. That car would have been well gone, but the improvements and the incremental improvements iRacing makes on their tire model, that really came into perspective there, because he was just able to catch that car, and even though he lost the position, he's still in this fight and still well within striking distance.
Rasmus looking hungrier and hungrier. Now 1.9 back from Taylor, who's been able to break away as Siraj holds up and bottlenecks the championship leader. Campbell now 1.9 clear at the front of the field. Valioka struggling, but not really being dropped into Taylor's clutches just yet, as the 23 maintains separation to the number 8 machine. Trevor Malone involved in trouble, and it's at the hairpin. Lanini will emerge alongside, but no damage to the 34 as around went Craig Forsyth in the 53.
And that was a similar thing with Craig Forsyth there. It's just on power down. He just got a little bit too much wheel spin. He wasn't able to save it, and that's cost him a couple of positions there. So just unfortunate there for Craig Forsyth. But we're seeing the mistakes starting to creep in here, and that's why that settling down that you sort of mentioned at the front doesn't surprise me, because all 3 at the front right now, they're just sort of settling into a rhythm, trying to find their own patch of track, find their own rhythm, and make sure that they're not making any sort of mistakes, because it's so easy to do at a track like this.
Siraj drops behind Rasmus, who was able to get it done in the 68. Now looks forward, breaks away, already half a second clear. Fowler, Hearn next in line to slot past the 99. How long will it take? How patient will they be? Let's start with what happened to Malone. Maybe a bit spooked, runs a bit wide. No harm, no foul there. Then for Craig Forsyth, again, you were singing the praises of Luke Daniels with the car control. Forsyth showing just how difficult it can be.
Yeah, part of Forsyth's problem was he just carried a little bit too much speed through the corner itself, so even before he was back on the throttle, he was already loose, so when he got back on the throttle, it just made a loose condition worse. That's what got him around that early on the exit of the corner. But you can really tell that these drivers are putting everything on the line here, Arjuna. They're really pushing this car for all that it's worth. And right now, it's starting to settle down just a little bit, but there's still a lot of battles on track. This one in particular, Chris Fowler and Richie Hearn really pressuring the back of David Siraj.
Siraj with the great pace in qualifying again, struggling a bit more on the road course today. Siraj usually fairly consistent, qualifies around where he finishes inside of the top 9 positions. Still looking for that first race victory, but in the 28 previous starts coming into tonight, 15 top 5 finishes, 5 pole positions, always consistent and getting quicker and quicker on the ovals as well, as he gains the experience that you can only gain in a championship like this. Behind them, you mentioned Richie Hearn, plenty of experience and quite successful at this race 12 months ago. He runs in 7th position for the time being, making his 51st career start with 10 top 5s in there, and that one amazing pole position at Phillip Island. Richie's always a fierce competitor, and for a lot in the Lionheart community, it's great for them to be able to race with a bona fide legend of American open wheel racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Richie, not only is he a quality driver, but he's a quality person off the track as well, and he's a valuable member of the Lionheart community that all the drivers really treasure the ability to race on track with him, but also to just interact with him off the track, because he truly is a really good person. So it's really nice to see Richie putting together a good run here today, because Sometimes he's made mistakes in the past in these retro races, but so far this year he's been showing some really good speed, and it's just a matter of time before I think he really breaks through in one of these races.
Hey, he got his internet figured out as well. We haven't seen a single technical issue riding around with him for about a lap or so, so that is also a good thing. The thing that will concern him is, you know, on the left side of the car, as we break out our yellow pen tool, our high... Oh, there we go. We cursed it. There's the technical issue. There is a little bit of damage to the left side of the front wing. Richie has been flirting with the walls.
Yeah, the fortunate thing for Richie is at a track like this, that type of damage won't cost you too much in terms of track time because or lap time, because there's just not that much space for you to really stretch the aerodynamic legs of this car other than the front straightaway. Most of the time you need all the downforce so you can get through these corners. So from Richie's perspective, it might make it a little bit harder to get around, but not too bad. That's really not too much damage for that number 70 car.
Valioka starting to struggle. 3.2 away from your leader, and now 0.8 away from Matt Taylor, who locks up the inside front tires as he works into the hairpin, but still, it's going to be a good lap as he trends to close on that 23 car. Tires are always going to be so important here. Not just trying to make sure you don't spin out the car, of course, Andrew, but when you have so much power in these machines, if you put too much power through the rear tires, you feel it for the next couple of corners. It takes some time, for the tires to cool off.
Yeah, it absolutely does, but the one thing about this car is you can push these tires a fair bit before it really sort of goes over the edge. So if you're Matt Taylor, you wouldn't be too worried about locking up into the one corner. Really what you want to be doing right now is just stalking your prey right in front of you, and that's Valiokas. And Taylor has just been quietly coming up to the back of that 23 car in front, and it's only going to be a matter of time before he tries to make one of these moves work in probably either turn 1 or turn 7 here.
Wonder if we'll see any other one-off entries in 2022 across of the Lionheart competitions. Tommy Milner was meant to make a one-off at Road America last week in the Lionheart IndyCar Series before the factory Corvette driver realized that he forgot he had travel plans and had to miss that race. We looking forward to maybe getting him on the grid for another race. Maybe some others see this Lotus 79 and say, it's a lot of fun, let's take to the track. And with some really enjoyable tracks coming up for the rest of 2022, I'm sure there will be plenty to excite, plenty to delight as well. George Inzaldo back in 20th position, making his 95th career start, the most of any Lionheart Retro Series competitor. And of course our series organizer as well had to miss yesterday's festivities because he had to make sure he was still married coming into today, celebrating, if I believe correctly, his 27th wedding anniversary.
I believe it was 24th, if I'm not mistaken, Arjuna, but yeah, George, our fearless leader in the Lionheart series, he has done so much for the Lionheart community and really is the beating heart of the Lionheart series. Has had so much experience in all of these cars, and it's great to see him out here again today. But this battle is really starting to heat up between Valiokas and Taylor. Taylor is just getting ever so much closer, lap after lap, and I think it's only a matter of time before Taylor starts to look to make a move here.
Maybe this is the experience bearing fruit for Taylor. Of course, Valiokas has been quick in 2022, but still trying to get to grips with the car on longer runs, maybe. Trying to get used to the series. Taylor doing a great job to, as always, as the race goes on, find speed. One thing that you had postulated, Andrew, was that for Taylor, as the track rubbered in, especially on ovals, he seems to find speed. He's, of course, one of the few drivers that pulls triple duty, competing in all three of the competitions that Lionheart puts forward.
Yes, he does, and it does keep him very busy, but at a certain point it also keeps him very sharp as well, and it allows him to find little things in the cars that some other drivers don't, just because he does have experience on all of these tracks that we go to in various different cars. So it allows him to try things that other drivers just don't think to try, and it allows him to find speed that other drivers can't, and it's shown in his championship campaign this year as well. So Matt Taylor doing a great job here in third place right now, but also really well in the championship.
Andrew, what's it like to win in the Lionheart Racing Series, no matter what the competition is, on your debut?
I mean, it's a huge accomplishment, no question about it. These drivers are all so talented. When you get in there and you see someone doing as well as Campbell is doing on his debut, you tend to sort of write off the competition. But we've seen so far this year in the Retro Series and in all of the Lionheart competition that none of these drivers can be anything close to a slouch. It really is the top of the top drivers that are in this series. So when you can win against drivers like that, it really is a gratifying feeling.
Robert's able to hold off Rodriguez, who tried it into turn one. The reason, of course, I ask Andrew Kinsella is one of the few to have done so. Season 5 Lionheart IndyCar Series Homestead, sound familiar?
Yeah, that was a very interesting race. There was a little bit of fuel strategy that I was able to play there, and the teammates at what was Adrenaline Motorsports, now Powerslide Motorsports, helped me get a win there. I actually had a small incident on the track as well that put me back into about 25th, and I worked my way all the way up to the lead. So that was a fun race to have way back in season 5, and a good trip down memory lane. But definitely Campbell is going to be focused right now on this race here, and it's a different type of race that he's running. He's controlling this pace from the front, but Valiokas is the driver that's all under all sorts of pressure from Matt Taylor right now.
Remember, 6 races left this season. Up next, Motegi Grand Prix. The third week of October sees a trip to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and then the first week of November over to America's National Park of Speed and Road America. Half the races still left to play after today are road races. If Sean Campbell is here to stay, those are points that championship competitors by no means can be counting on as we build to the very end of the season. A lap or so ago, there was a close call between Valiokas and Taylor. Watch it. The lockup from the right inside tire for Valiokas. Taylor almost going like a snowplow into the back of the RSR by buttkicker car. It's so hard for that car behind to react in time, but Taylor just about holds on.
Yeah, by the time that a reaction is necessary, you're way committed on the brakes before that. So just a tough situation for Taylor. He did a really good job to stay off the back of the 23 car, but I want to draw your attention to that third car in screen here right now, Arjuna. Mike Rasmus is starting to catch up to both Taylor and Valiokas right now.
First car to pit road. We expected a big window for the pit stops, allowing a lot of creativity for drivers. David Rodriguez, first to pit lane on lap 17. What do you think about this call, Andrew?
It's not surprising, given where Rodriguez started this race, that he would try to do something different. But the problem with what he's doing is that it doesn't allow him to have that low fuel run on these tires as much as some of these other drivers will, because he has to refill the car. So to me, the best strategy here is always going to be to try and go as long as you possibly can on each of these stints and try to maximize your time on that low fuel, because again, we won't see very much in the way of tire strategies. It's all comes down to the fuel strategy and minimizing the time on high fuel.
As Taylor jinks to the outside, Valiokas will make him fight for second. Side by side into the corner, almost ended in disaster. All it really does is lose them time, drop them into the clutches of the waiting 68, the championship leader, as Mike Rasmus closes on a podium spot. Traffic will play its part. There's still a long way to go before we can crown Sean Campbell the winner, but it would seem, as it runs right now, with still a long way to go, Campbell has got to just survive to be crowned the winner on the streets of Long Beach.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit early to be counting Sean Campbell the winner at this point, particularly because we do still have those pit stops that you have to go through, and you've already mentioned his teammate Valiokas had those troubles at Watkins Glen, so there's still a lot of racing here to happen before this goes on. But going back to what we saw,
Richie Hearn, the 70's gone around, and he's had to go to an access road down that back straightaway. Now has to hold wait for a safe point to rejoin the track. That is heads-up driving. That's a real race car driver's attitude going on there. Richie Hearn drops to 11th. Pain for the 70.
Well, I mean, it depends on which real race car driver you're talking about, because if you're Paul Tracy, you just pull out into traffic there.
Gentleman, how about that? Tell us, as we grab a look at the replay, what do you see here, Andrew?
Yeah, it was just Richie, I think, got a little bit distracted by that driver on the inside there, it was a lap car trying to let all the leaders by, and I think Richie just missed his braking point just a little bit, and he basically did the safer option and went down that runoff road, spun himself around, and got back going again. Only lost himself probably 3 or 4 positions in about 10 seconds there, so it's way better that he did that than if he had hit the barrier on the outside there. Taylor
is showing in the mirrors right now, putting the thought in the mind of the 23 that I'm here, I'm quicker, it's a matter of time before I get past. Almost at lap 20, hypothetically, you could try and do something on strategy if you're Taylor, but like you pointed out earlier, the gamble to give up a guaranteed run on lower fuel would not be the call. But I put to you, Andrew, that if you can get yourself out into clean air, if you're Taylor and you know you're faster, surely you need to gamble and try something, because that could be not just the way that gets you into second, it's the way that gets you comfortably into second.
I agree, Arjuna, but the question is, what do you try? And for me, if I'm Matt Taylor, knowing that I'm faster than Valiokas, what I'm going to try to do is extend my stint 1 lap further than Valiokas, use that 1 lap on fresher tires with clean air and low fuel, and having the tires in the optimal temperature range, optimal wear range, and try to get the overcut done on Valiokas. That's the play that I would use if I'm Matt Taylor. But the trick is, you really can't afford to let Sean Campbell get too much farther out in front of you, because you just won't be able to run him down over the course of the next 2 stints.
I think we've already kind of given up any hopes of besting Sean Campbell, as Taylor makes a bit of a mistake at the hairpin at the very end of the lap, opens the door for Razmaz to close. Now, is there damage to the Madworks Motorsports number 8?
It looks like Matt Taylor just might have gotten away with that, Arjuna, but it was a very close thing, and that was just Taylor cutting it a little too close around that right-hand corner, and he just managed to catch the rear tire on that sort of jutting out angle of that hairpin. It is a very tricky corner that you can really get hung up on, and it just caught up Matt Taylor just a little bit there.
Nervy moments then, as we grab a look at the replay. Again, a mistake from Valiokas and an attempted capitalization, but maybe a bit too aggressive, over-optimistic, and clatches the right sides into the wall. Seems to have gotten away with that one. 20 laps now officially in the books, closing on the 1/3 marker of this race. Valiokas a full 8 seconds behind his teammate, with pressure behind, but then 3.5 seconds back to David Sira, who now just has Chris Fowler to come for company. And then a gargantuan 10-second deficit between 6th and 7th positions. It is looking like we're on course for, again, potentially just the top 5, staying on the lead lap by the time we get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, distinct possibility here, but don't count out a recovery drive here from Richie Hearn. He was doing well to just stay with Chris Fowler for most of that first stint before he made that mistake, so he's definitely a driver that can potentially work his way back up through this field. And I do think that we're probably going to have more drivers than just 5 on the lead lap, because as well as Sean Campbell is doing, we have a number of drivers who are still turning in very solid laps here with 22 laps gone. So I would say probably, if I were predicting, put me down for about 12 drivers still on the lead lap come the end of this race.
12, okay, we'll hold you to that. About half the field then is Andrew's prediction. That's a lot better than we've managed to hit the 2 previous trips that we've had here, as Danny Roberts, on the exit, I think, of turn 5, has gotten a bit too greedy with the throttle and spun himself around. It is maybe not as chaotic a race as I anticipated. haven't turned our attention to replays as much as we did in some of our previous races, most notably the Phillip Island race that we had last year. What crazy fun that was. Here's the move for second, though. Taylor straight down the inside. Valiokas clips the wall with his right rear tire. No major damage, but Taylor had enough of waiting. He's up to second.
What a lunge there from Matt Taylor. He sent that car down the inside there. Made a little bit of contact with Valiokas on the way by, and that put Valiokas into the tire barrier just a little bit, but I think that they all escaped with no damage. And this is going to be the telling part here, Arjuna. Will Matt Taylor be able to extend the gap over Valiokas and Rasmus here? And how long will it take Rasmus to get by Valiokas as well?
Luke Daniels to pit road. Will become the second car to box in the 4D Sim Racing number 28. Of course, joins David Rodriguez with having finished the first green flag pit stops in this race. We thought potentially lap 1 would bring a safety car. We saw it at Watkins Glen. Fortunately, we survived, we persisted. Taylor a little bit wide through the final corner. Not breaking away from Valiokas or Rasmus to the degree that he would have wanted, but already 6/10 clear. And here comes the momentum. The 68 car, the championship leader, will be thinking about what's smart, but right now, he's looking forward, he's looking to follow Taylor through. Commits to the outside and gets pushed into the wall. Rasmus, I think, holds on without damage, but it got physical in the battle for third.
Yeah, that's a really precarious position to put yourself in if you're Mike Rasmus, trying to make a move on the outside there. He did have that sort of outside lane, but as we look at the replay of that pass, you can see just a little bit of contact from Matt Taylor there on his way by, and that put him,
oh no!
Valiokas made a mistake.
I think Valiokas actually has a technical issue because he's dropped from the timing screens, as his teammate David Rodriguez has an issue as well. Two of the RSR by buttkicker cars in strife here before even the halfway mark of the race, and Valiokas still yet to have any sign of survival. It would seem as though the 23's day is done.
That's so unfortunate for Valio because he'd been doing such a good job there, and his quality is definitely dropping. He should drop out of the server here momentarily. So that will put paid to his efforts here today, but had been having such a strong drive. And meanwhile, Mike Rasmus has got to be thinking, you couldn't have just dropped out like 5 corners earlier. 1
lap ago, yeah, just giving it to me. It was a nervy moment. If I'm a championship leader, in the situation that Rasmus is in, with one of his major threats already retired for the day, it's good me saying this in hindsight. I recognize that, but I don't know if that's a gamble I would have gone for.
Nor I, but at the same time, you got to be thinking Matt Taylor probably is one of Mike Rasmus's strongest opponents in the championship, and if you're Rasmus, you gotta be thinking you can't let him go by. But you can see Rasmus had the corner until he didn't there, and then he was in a world of trouble with Valiokas trying to get through that sequence, and then just 5 corners later, basically, Valiokas, you'll see, will soon disappear off of the screen.
Yeah, just watch, because I think this also lost Rasmus a bit more time with the state of unknown that he was in. Didn't realize or have any idea where the 23 car had gone. Uncertain times did lose him a little bit more ground to Taylor in that battle now for second spot. Richie Hearn gets in front of Adam Fraser, disposes of the 88 in clinical fashion as he looks to work his way back forward. Slots the 7th where he started this race. And there are sometimes things that you cannot control, but those are the things that will frustrate you the most. For Valiokas, for the 23 car, there's not much that we can say other than we're sorry.
It is truly the sim racing equivalent of a mechanical failure, and it's always all the more heartbreaking when it happens at that type of or when you're having that type of race where you're just in that top 3 position, then suddenly it all goes wrong, and it's no less heartbreaking in the sim world than it is in the real world.
I always point back to Max Verstappen, 2019, 24 Hours of Spa, sharing the car with Lando Norris, Maximilian Benecke, and Jonas Wallmeyer, if I remember correctly. Coming to the final hour of the race as pit stops underway. We'll get back to the story time. David Sirard becomes pit road taker number 1. within the top 5 as he trundles down pit road. We mentioned it earlier, Andrew, there's no pit speed limiter. It's all down to your feet and how in control, how in tune with your car you are.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be so careful in this car because it's so easy to just go a little bit too fast, particularly on a pit road like this where the pit road speed is just so low. You have to be so patient while you're coming down, and it feels so slow as well when you're in the car. You have to be, you're going 170 miles an hour into turn 1 and then suddenly you're going like 35 miles an hour down pit lane. It's so slow, and you have to be so patient.
And pit merge on the exit is quite treacherous as well. Have to stay all the way to the right until you get to the blue cone, then you can commit, but you basically are thrown straight onto the racing line, straight into the path that would see contact lead you into the tire wall. So there is danger there. Sira with a 42.3 second stop.
Sorry, there was a little bit of contact with Matt Taylor as he ducks on the pit lane here, but there was contact between himself and a lap car, and he's got a little bit of damage on that front wing.
Yeah, you can see the left side of that nose a little bit worse for wear. What's that going to do to his pit stop time, Andrew?
Well, the one thing about this Lotus 79 is basically nothing is repairable on this car, apart from some suspension pieces, but so that won't actually do anything to his pit stop time because it just won't be repaired, but at the same time it will cost him just a little bit of time on the track. We talked about it with Richie Hearn. It won't cost him a lot of time, but it does take away just a little bit of downforce.
So 9.2 stationary for Sirwa, 8.2 for Taylor. Sirwa was 42.3 from cone to cone in the lane, and with a 1 second quicker stop, Taylor is 1 second quicker in the lane as well. The delta anywhere from 41 to 43 seconds depending on how long you will spend in pit lane, and with such a sizable pit window we will see some gambles. There's Campbell down to pit road. And in a sign of confidence, did you see how committed he was on pit entry?
I was about to say, Arjuna, that was a brave pit entry there from Sean Campbell. And it just goes to show when you're a driver of Campbell's quality, 7,000 plus I rating, you know where you can push and you know how to maximize every little portion of a track. And pit entry is definitely one of those things where it can really gain you a lot of time, and that's what we saw there from Campbell. He was trying to gain as much time as he possibly could on pit entry.
However, it is quite easy to lose the time on pit entry as well by getting a penalty. There is a fine line. Here's the look with Taylor, and it was contact with an RSR by buttkicker entry that runs a little bit wide, and it's David Rodriguez who gets in the way. Taylor's going to be frustrated, but there's not much you can do now. You just focus to get to the end of the race. Taylor will get to turn 1 alongside with Razmas. Some treachery there, but the 68's a little too far behind to be able to commit to the corner. Taylor second, Razmas third, 12 seconds back from your race leader.
Yeah, so Campbell's picked up about 1.5 seconds on Taylor through that pit stop cycle there, Arjuna. And a lot of that, I think, was down to that very brave pit entry there from Campbell and a little bit of a hold up there from Campbell's teammate, David Rodriguez. So it's all coming up Sean Campbell right now, isn't it?
It is. It is one of those days where you just cannot do wrong. Although there is a long way to go. Knock on wood. Let's hope there's no commentator's curse. We are probably safe, though. There's no Lorenzo Bonder in the racespottv commentary booth. Watch this commitment. He's not foot to the floor, but that's a man that's practiced, that knows where his marks is, that is potentially untouchable on a road course if he sticks around for the rest of 2022.
And it looked so calm in the car, but the thing is, he was probably about 15 miles an hour quicker than any other driver on that pit entry, and that 15 miles an hour really does make a difference. As I said, it was probably about 1 second over Matt Taylor on that pit entry alone, so really strong pit entry and strong job here from Campbell on debut. Now
we'll see what the impact of the damaged front wing will be for Taylor, with Razmas just 8/10 back as they work through turn 5. Off camber, so tricky, trying to get onto the power as the rear tires slip and slide from underneath you. 9.6 seconds for Razmas in the box, a little bit longer of a pit stop, maybe indicates That final stop will be as short as feasibly possible. Left side of the screen will show you those pit stop times, and you can see the variance through the field. The quickest, about 7 seconds from Luke Daniels. The longest is the 9.8 of Gabe Wood in the 04 JD Esports entry.
Yeah, and there's a number of different strategies at play in terms of how long and how much you fuel the car for this middle stint here. Some drivers will try and cut it a little bit closer. Luke Daniels, he obviously came down pit road really early, so he just didn't have as much room in the tank to fill up the car, so it took him less time on the jacks. But yeah, it's really fascinating to see what these drivers come up with in terms of strategy, trying to find that advantage over the drivers. But I think ultimately, like I was mentioning earlier, the best strategy here is to go as long as possible on these first two stints and be as light as possible for the final stint.
Getting to the halfway mark of the race, Razmas has dropped back, if anything. Now 1 second away from Taylor. Front wing damage, not really, slowing down the Madworks Motorsports number 8. Fowler got in front of Sirwa through the cycle of pit stops, almost a full 1.5 quicker in the box than the 99 car. He runs in 4th. He's managed to find some clean air. It's going to be crucial for him. Richie Hearn is up to 6th, now in front. A couple more cars as we work through the pit stop cycle. The only battle that we're tracking outside of Taylor and Razmas is Luke Daniels, who started the year off unable to complete laps. It seemed as though every time he tried to put himself in a situation, it ended poorly. But the last few races have been on the upturn for the number 28 car, the 40 simracing car, going from strength to strength, from pace to pace as well. What a strong qualifying that he's had in recent times, most notably the pole position at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need that little bit of time at the beginning of the season to really get yourself situated in a car, and I think that's what we saw with Luke Daniels. But obviously he's really started to come on much stronger in these last few races. Of course, he did have that little bit of a bobble that we saw earlier on in this race, but since then he's really settled down. He's right now battling with Adam Fraser for that 7th position. But it's just been a nice, quiet race from Luke Daniels, and I think that he'll take that after some of the races that he had earlier on in this season.
It's a wake-up call to some when they enter a competitive series, think they should be at the front, and then have to figure out their place in the pecking order. I speak from experience. Takes half a season sometimes to bed yourself in. For Sean Campbell, as he runs at the front of the field, it's not been a bedding in process for the number 26 independent entry, but carrying those colors of the RSR by Buttkicker team. Campbell leads by 11.5 seconds. It's been a dominant display so far, but with half the race still left to play, can Campbell survive the traffic that the streets of Long Beach will throw his way? You're watching racespottv and the SimRace 24/7 Grand Prix of Long Beach. Don't go anywhere. The run to the checkered flag coming up next.
With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Welcome back to the streets of Long Beach and the brawl that is the SimRace 24/7 Grand Prix of Long Beach, presented by Gomez Sim Industries. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, on hand in the racespottv commentary booth by the one and only Andrew Kinsella. It's been a fascinating race so far, but one dominated by Sean Campbell in the number 26 independent entry on debut to this competition. What a day it's been so far. Still looking at a battle between championship contenders as the points leader Mike Rasmas hunts down the number 8 Madworks Motorsports car of Matt Taylor. As always, survival is important here. Andrew, we started with 28 cars, just 19 are left running.
19 left running and only 15 still on the lead lap. Sean Campbell has been picking his way through the back markers these last few laps, but the battle on track right now is between Matt Taylor and Mike Rasmas. Rasmas hasn't been able to really take advantage of the damage that Matt Taylor has had on his front wing, and he's just sort of been stalking the number 8 car of Matt Taylor. He just hasn't been able to make the progress that I think he was hoping for at this point.
In that phase of the race where it's so easy to slip up, but the toughest test of this race will come in those final couple of laps when the checkered flag is in sight, but drivers will be drained from first the qualifying session, throwing it on the edge, dancing with disaster as Taylor got a little uncomfortable there, a little too close to the wall. 64 laps of intense pressure, the 4 laps of qualifying before it all adds up. Fortunately, it's not in a phase of the championship where it's busy for drivers. From your perspective, Andrew, what does it mean when a championship gets broken up a little bit more, when you're not going back-to-back, when you get a couple of weeks to ruminate in the results of that last outing?
I think the big thing for these drivers is not to ruminate too much and just focus ahead. And sometimes if you had a bad race right before you got into a break, sometimes it can be a bad thing, but sometimes it can be a good thing as well. It allows you to reset, allows you to refocus and focus on what you have to do to win the championship. It's definitely one of those things where you as a driver have to take charge of your own mental game and really focus forward. And that's what true champions do, is they're always mindful of what's to come and what they have to do, not what they did before.
As always, featured onboard cameras, but it's such a quick pace lap around here, we don't get the chance to run you down through them. Let's quickly do that, starting with Matt Taylor, who carries the buttkicker onboard cameras. Where sim racing is better with buttkicker, visit thebuttkicker.com. It's been a tough day for Luis Gonzalez Nunez, but he still pounds around in 19th position. He carries the SimRace 24/7 onboard camera. Visit simrace247.com, where sim racing is for everyone. And Mike Rasmas in the 68 car, hunting down Taylor in that battle for second, carries the HyperX onboard. Look, whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. Past the halfway mark, still one cycle of green flag pit stops yet for these drivers to complete, and of course, will be a couple of changes. If you are Rasmas, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world, Andrew, if you're a second back, expecting at least a 1.3 second quicker pit stop when we get to the final cycle in about 10 laps time.
No, and this is certainly not the first time that we've seen Mike Rasmas stalk his prey in this Lionheart Retro Series. He is definitely one of those drivers who can stay very patient throughout a race and just take what the race gives him. So that's why he's doing so well and leading the championship. But we've had a big incident coming out of the hairpin. That was Ricky Harden losing it on power down there.
At least he's not hard in the wall, but now just a couple of car lengths in front of, I believe it was Danny Roberts in the yellow and black entry that winded its way through the final corner. We'll pick up what happened to that number 7 machine as we jump on the racespottv replay, and it's again just going to be trying to get the power down to those rear tires. Had a little bit of lock as he started to get that power down, but you would have thought it wasn't too much lock. That looks savable. We've seen some good saves today.
Yeah, it really just depends what type of wheel spin you get, because you can either get one wheel spinning or you can get both rear wheels spinning in this car, and if you get both rear wheels spinning, it's much harder to save. So I think that's what happened there with Ricky Harden, is he got both rear wheels just too far gone, and he did a good job to just keep it off the wall and mitigate his damages there.
We're watching a battle for 7th. Frazier Feeling the pressure from Daniels in that 28 car. Daniels steady on the start, has not moved forward from his qualifying spot, while Frazier was a little bit more aggressive, gained 4 in the early stages of this race, has not relinquished too many spots just yet. Wait and see if he can hold on. Still about 30 minutes of racing left to go for these competitors. It's always good when we don't talk about the race leader, and that's been the story for Sean Campbell. The only thing we've been doing is singing his praises, but it's fair to say this is a rather specialized challenge, Andrew, and this series, a lot of American open wheel racing is about the diversity, the ovals, the different types of ovals, and even within road courses. You can't compare a Long Beach to a Road America, thinking back to some of the other road courses we visited so far in 2022. The challenge will be, hopefully, we get to see Campbell on the ovals. Hopefully, we get to see exactly how he adapts.
Absolutely. The beauty of American open wheel racing is that adaptability. And Sean Campbell, he's proven himself so far in this race that he knows how to wheel a car around a road car. So let's see what he can do on an oval track. Let's see what he can do when he's racing inches away from the car beside him in a draft situation like we've seen at Michigan in this car before. It's nothing like what we're seeing here today. So what would happen if we got him into that car, Arjuna?
Yeah, you really want to throw him into the shark-infested waters by going straight to Michigan, right?
Michigan Auto Club, it'll all work for him, right?
These easy tracks where there's no danger whatsoever. Forsyth Gallas, 15th and 16th. Forsyth in the 53 has already gotten through, but the Backfire Motorsports 84 car wants to try and fight this one back. These cars 1 lap down. Daniels gets in front of Frazier. A good move down into the penultimate sector of the lap. And now Daniels finds himself 4 seconds separated from Richie Hearn. Going to be his next target up in line. At this point, still we got 24 laps to go. I think we're trending towards somewhere around 11 cars left on the lead lap, Andrew. Seems like your prediction not too far off the mark.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you just how strong this field is here compared even to last year. There's a lot of talented drivers on this road course. Of course, Campbell is the highest I-rating driver on the road courses here, but we have so many talented drivers throughout this top 10, and even some drivers that weren't able to make it here today or who had bad luck on that first stint, such as Valioka, such as O'Brien, who very easily could have been in that top 10 conversation. So it truly is a deep, deep field that we have here in the Lionheart Retro Series.
I'm going to open up the playbook here. Throw us into Fantasy World. What is your favorite street course in the world, Andrew?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's really tough.
Right? Try picking one as well.
There's so many, though. And now, is that current street courses or is that historical street courses as well?
To limit it slightly, to ground us a little bit in reality, let's say current.
Okay. Well, obviously, Toronto holds a special place in my heart, being a Canadian and being just 2 hours away from that circuit. Long Beach has got to be up there, just in terms of prestige. It's the Monaco of North America. It's hosted both IndyCar and Formula One in its history. I'm going to go with Long Beach as my favorite track.
Wow.
Not necessarily for racing, but just for the pure history of the event there.
Hey, and street courses in many ways are spectacles. They are about the history, right? I mean, Monaco is not renowned now because it's a thrilling race year after year. It's a spectacle. It's its own slice of the F1 culture, if you will. So I appreciate where you're coming from. I don't know. I think if I'm going with my heart, you say Toronto, I say Singapore. Singapore without the Singapore sling chicane is fantastic. As soon as you put that in there, it's not so great. I'm surprised that you didn't say Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Can we count that as a street course?
See, I don't know that you can count that as a true street course.
Quasi-street course.
Yeah, So Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is definitely a very strong track in terms of driving and in terms of passing. I would love to see IndyCar go back there. I just don't know that you could honestly call that a true street course.
Fair. If you're watching on racespottv, let us know if you've got any opinions on this one. Of course, Australia's got their own, legacy of some great street courses, although not many that we could go racing with these cars.
That's true, but that's why I was going to say, if it was all time, my number one street course, absolutely Surfer's Paradise.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. So at least, okay, if we throw it up that far, then we get creative answers. You can see lap traffic continues to be a threat for these drivers. It's Luis Gonzalez Nunez this time that stays out of trouble through the penultimate corner. I've noted a lot of drivers through that final corner as well, going wide as Nunez tags the wall with the left side of his car. Next time by will be 20 laps to go. We are within the window of getting to the end, but as always, these cars, as they burn off the fuel, they just pick up the pace. They get faster. It's as simple as that. And by that logic, we only expect drivers to come in about 10 laps time or so. It is very much a splash and dash, Andrew, to get to the end of this race.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And again, minimizing that time on pit lane is going to be so important for some of these battles, particularly when you look at Matt Taylor and Mike Rasmussen. Taylor is starting to just eke out that gap over Mike Rasmussen just a little bit. And it's worth noting as well, Arjuna, Taylor and Rasmussen have not allowed Sean Campbell to get much past that 12-second mark. They've really sort of stabilized that gap at the front.
You say that, but last time by, Sean Campbell just punched in the fastest lap of the race and broke the race lap record with a 1:11.477, 3/10 quicker than both the cars behind him. To some degree, I think this is race management from Campbell. This is the level of maturity that you develop when you compete in a lot of top-level competitions outside of the Lionheart bubble. It's what you expect with a driver of Campbell's caliber. Luke Daniels in the 28 rolls to pit road. David Rodriguez follows him to the lane.
And both of these drivers were early on pit lane for the last time, so this is no surprise that they come down pit lane together here for this final stop. And with 20 to go, it's a little bit early for me. Again, I want to be on low fuel for as long as possible. This doesn't allow them to be that way, but it has allowed, especially Luke Daniels, just that little bit of freedom to make some moves that he might not have otherwise been able to make, particularly on Adam Fraser. So maybe this pays out for him in the long run.
19 to go. Still battle for second within touching distance and crucially within eye line. If you have visual contact with the car in front of you, it gives you the extra little bit of a boost knowing where your target is. Although if you see it stay at the same distance for lap after lap after lap, it can turn confidence into frustration in the blink of an eye. Chris Fowler will come down to pit road as well in the Madworks Motorsports number 20. From within the top 5, it's an early stop for the 20.
Yeah, very early from Fowler. A little bit surprising. Again, I think the best play for him would have been to go as long as possible. But one thing that I wanted to point out with that shot that we just had with Taylor and Rasmus, Luke Daniels came out right in front of that pair. And this is going to be the trickiest part for Taylor and Rasmussen, but particularly Taylor, is Luke Daniels is fighting for a top 10 position, and he's battling with Adam Fraser here. He will not want to let Matt Taylor by easily, and he's going to be on that heavy fuel load and just not able to go as fast as Matt Taylor is. So this is going to be a tricky situation for Taylor.
Will it be an opportunity? We'll find out. Let's ride around Long Beach with the points leader. Let's ride with Mike Rasmussen in the 68. Down through the gears. Look how fast, how committed they are through turn 1. Then the fountain section where less is more. Turn in early, sweep to the left-hand side, build into turn 4. Cambered in initially, but as you come to turn 5, it cambers out, so you've got to be very careful getting the power down. As you see Rasmussen use a bit of an opposite lock to turn the car as he gets onto the power. Then down shoreline driving to turn 6, such a crucial braking zone, because if you mess it up, you can put yourself in an opportunity for someone to lunge the inside of turn 8, where a tire barrier is greeting you on the outside, beckoning you into the garage. Down East Seaside Way, one of your primary passing opportunities. Use the draft potentially to get onto the anchors at the 300-meter sign on the left-hand side. down into second gear, tentative on the power through the left sweeper, that is turn 10. Very difficult through the hairpin as it checks up the momentum. Slowest point on the track. Taylor peels off to pit road. He's looking to go aggressive.
Yeah, and I think that was a response to Luke Daniels just not letting Taylor by. You saw Taylor lost about 3/4 of a second on that lap alone to Mike Rasmus as we were riding on board. Rasmus was already starting to get back into the kitchen of Matt Taylor, so Taylor just wanted to get out of the traffic and get some clean laps here, and now Mike Rasmus is going to have to deal with Luke Daniels.
Important stop then for Taylor to execute, hit his marks, not just entering the lane, entering the box, getting onto the power. It's 6.8 stationary for Taylor. A nice, tidy pit stop. Now, focus to Rasmus. It's his turn to do the same.
And it is, and the question is how long until Rasmus comes down pit lane. We know that he can go longer than Taylor here. He did it in the first stint, he can do it again here, but Taylor is coming out into traffic as well, so this is not what Taylor was hoping for with the car coming out in front of him, and Rasmus around Luke Daniels there. That was very important for that number 68 car.
So Taylor comes out behind Guyon, who is yet to box and has not shown the level of pace that we've seen from the runners at the front. Bit of a moment there for Rasmus, but now he's past Daniels, has a bit of a bubble, and then a teammate for lap traffic in front. He's doing the wise thing, extending until his tank is dry.
Absolutely. This is Mike Rasmus's chance here. He's got to find a way to put in some laps here, dig deep, but for Taylor, it's all about minimizing the damage here. He's got to find a way past Guyon as quickly as he possibly can, but he can't afford to let this compromise his laps either. So very, very tricky proposition for Taylor here. Probably the worst possible scenario was coming out right behind one of his competitors here.
He took the gamble. Now, which way will it swing? It might come down to a battle on track. The run into turn 1. We've already seen Taylor willing to go aggressive and lob it to the inside. We'll get the lap time next time by for Matt Taylor in that number 8 car as Sean Campbell continues to run at the front of the field. Now leads by 14.6 seconds. Here's the points leader. Here's the 68 car. The driver we're tracking in relation to Matt Taylor already down to pit road. Rasmus continues to extend. Past Lanini already, but now next car in line will be Adam Fraser. In a similar spot to Daniels, does not want to compromise his own race.
But that does go to show you just how much that undercut can happen, because we know that Luke Daniels did pass Adam Fraser on that last stint there. So now Fraser is probably about 4 seconds in front of Luke Daniels here. So it really did show that the undercut can be very effective here. So that's one thing working in Mike Rasmus's favor right now.
A 1:11.8 for the 68. For Taylor, we wait to see what the lap time will be for him as he crosses the line. A 1:12.0. About 2/10 slower. Looking good for Rasmus. Taylor finally dispatches of Guyon. That might be crucial. Clean air. The number 8 focuses forward, focuses on this gap as Rasmus, working lap 21 of his stint, might still be able to go another lap or two. The question is, will he, with not just one, but multiple bits of traffic in front?
Yeah, I think if I'm Mike Rasmus, I'd be looking to come down pit lane, but he doesn't. He stays out one more time. Going to try and use this draft down the front straightaway, hopefully get through one of these cars here, but they don't seem to be pulling over very easily here. And indeed, there are drivers that are racing for position right in front. That's Ricky Harden and Adam Fraser for position, so they will not give this up easily, and I think Rasmus is going to get held up coming through the fountain.
I question the wisdom of this call. Made up all the time. We've seen the overcut work a treat, but one lap too long as Rasmus gets a little bit loose through turn 5, compromises him even further. 1:11.868 for Rasmus last time across the line compares to a 1:11.847 for Taylor. He's found the time. The MadWorks Motorsports machine is on the charge.
Yeah, it's been a couple of tenths a lap for Mike Rasmus, but the problem is if you lose all of that time on one lap, all of that work that Mike Rasmus has done for the last 3 laps could be falling by the wayside trying to get by these cars. He's got by Adam Fraser now, but he's still got Ricky Harden, and Ricky Harden is still not letting him get through these laps as quickly as he and effectively as he could. Now it looks like he'll finally get past Ricky Harden. Now he'll have some clean track in front of him.
Forces the drivers to compromise slightly, but a 1:12.450 for Razmas last time. Lost about 7/10 of a second, stuck in traffic. Will those be the 7/10 that give Taylor the opportunity to make the undercut work to his advantage? We will find out with 13 laps still left to play. Not many fights still going on. Of course, Ricky Harden and Adam Fraser now released from the pressure of the leader behind them. Might look to try and make something happen. We'll have to wait and see as Luis Gonzalez Nunez stranded on the exit of turn number 8.
Yeah, just a miserable day here for Luis Gonzalez Nunez. He's just been trying to get whatever he can out of today after that damage that he suffered early on in the race. But Mike Razmas, he lost 0.4 of a second on that last lap compared to Matt Taylor. Taylor did a 12.0, Razmas with the 12.4. Will Razmas come down pit lane? It looks like he might just... No, he's going to stay out one more time.
I think at this point, if you've gambled and stayed out this far, you go until it's dry. It's as simple as that. 1:12.020 this time for Razmas. 1:12.021 for Taylor last time by. Lap time split by 1/1000th of a second.
This battle is going to be so tight when Rasmus finally comes down to pit lane. And one of the things to consider, though, Arjuna, is because he's extending as long as he is, will he be able to have a little bit of a shorter stop compared to Matt Taylor?
Remember, 6.8 for Taylor. I postulated maybe 1.3 quicker for Razmas would give him a total time of about 5.5 seconds stationary. Of course, then the execution entering pit lane, entering the box, and then getting out of pit lane as well will come into play. And it will be close, and maybe it's going to be Campbell that gives us the indication as to when the 68 will come in. As Campbell takes over to lap 25, fuel window meant to open next time by.
Yeah, we're getting very close to the fuel window where they just simply have to come in at this point. But Campbell, with what Rasmus had to deal with in terms of the lap traffic, Campbell is able to extend that gap even further. And at this point, it's one of those drives where you just have to respect what Campbell has done here today, Arjuna. On debut, it's a tough situation to come in as a rookie, and then to do what Campbell has done, put it on pole, and with the drive he has, it's just really astounding to watch.
11 to go. And you can see Razmas now pushing almost all the way to the wall through turn 5. Sirois in the 99 to pit road in the Raven Lavoie Motorsports entry. Nice and tidy for the Canadian. 6.1 seconds stationary. And that was a reference point that I was waiting for. Razmas may get one lap better in terms of less fuel required to put in the car. But 6.1 is still a long time to be stationary in pit road.
Yes, but I believe it was 6.8 for Matt Taylor, so if it's similar for Mike Razmas, that's about 0.7 of a second that Razmas has to play with there. And if you recall, he was about 0.7 of a second back from Matt Taylor when Taylor pitted, so things are looking very tight here. Razmas had a very nice lap that last time by. I believe that was an 11.741 that last time by, so he is doing everything he possibly can to take time out of Matt Taylor at this point.
And with 10 to go, let's quickly show you those lap times. Yes, a couple of slower laps, 1:12.4, 1:12.0 for Razmas when traffic played a bit of a factor, but consistent 1:11.8s before and then 1:11.7s after that. Contrast to Taylor after coming off of pit road. He's struggling to dip below the 1:12s. It's what we expected. If you burn the fuel until it's empty, you will find speed at the very end of the run. And while all this has been going on, David Sirois has thrown away the opportunity for a top 5. This may be the inflection point for his championship hopes. That 99 car looks to be well and truly damaged. He'll stay out, but he's nursing it to the end as Campbell rolls to pit road.
That looked to be a massive impact there from Sirois. Both ends of the car destroyed, but Campbell to pit lane, as you say, and this is the last real point where something can go wrong for Campbell, I would say. He's shown that he's not going to put a wheel wrong on track. The question is, does he put a wheel wrong on pit lane? No, he doesn't have any sort of penalty there. All he has to do is get off pit lane successfully, and he should be free and clear to the end here.
Here comes Razmas, though, and this is where we've been waiting for the race off of pit road. Razmas 5.7 stationary. Taylor still yet to get onto the power out of the final corner, but it's a long run before Razmas can release himself on the pit road limit.
It's a long time, but I don't think long enough for Taylor. Taylor is going to be well back by the time Rasmus gets back on the throttle. I think it's going to be about 2 or 3 seconds here that Rasmus is in front of Taylor.
It's not even close. It's a country mile. Razmas comfortably back into second, and with a 2.7 second buffer to play with, 9 laps left to play.
That was a little bit over a second on pit lane, but almost a second and a half on track that Mike Razmas was able to make up by having that undercut strategy. So it just goes to show you just how well Rasmus's car was hooked up for those last few laps of that stint.
Let's figure out what maybe happened to David Sirois. His teammate Alex Guyon will roll to pit lane. Turn the attention over to the racespottv replay machine. Chris Fowler with a look to the inside. Loses control. Sirois can do nothing as he's the one that gets churned out into the wall on the outside. Fowler gets away with relatively little damage. Sirois will be frustrated with that one.
Yeah, that was just an unfortunate incident for Sirois there. Nothing he could do about that. Fowler, as you see, he just gets in a little too deep, a little bit too much rear brake bias, gets loose through the apex of the corner, and then rear-to-rear contact. You can see just how much that car jumps up because wheel-to-wheel contact in this car with rear tires, nothing good is going to come of that.
Danny Roberts in 7th, right behind the 99 car, but is on lap 27 of the stint. Owes us a pit stop as we work 8 laps left to go in this race. Sirois' next focus will be on Guyon. He was only about 2.3 back as Sirois struggles to even get the car around the hairpin. Roberts dives to pit road. Sirois will be lucky if he can nurse this home inside of the top 10. It's going to be a frustrating result, especially given where he sits in the championship picture.
Yeah, for sure. This is all about damage mitigation for David Sirois. And if he's lucky, he's going to be able to maintain a lead lap finish here and a top 10, but it's going to take a lot of driving, and it's so frustrating when something like that happens and you know you still have to nurse this car home and you have 7 more laps of just pure driving hell, for lack of a better word, where you can barely control the car, but you still need to find a way to bring it home.
And remember that with a smaller field here today, if Sirois can still get this home in the top 10, Andrew, in a 18-round championship where you're allowed to drop the 2 lowest points totals that you get, so basically you can have 2 terrible races, they don't impact your championship chances. Sirois might be putting himself in with a chance of not using this as one of his 2 drops.
Yeah, that absolutely has to be what Sirois is doing right now, because you can just see how hard that car is to control at this point. He's doing everything he can, and he does the gentlemanly thing of letting the cars behind him go at that point there. But if it wasn't for the championship and it wasn't for where...
He's done.
He would be done right now. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I commend him for even doing this. I think he's going to be able to get home in 11th. He's got Gabe Wood, then Rodriguez behind as they battle for what is now 10th position, as the RSR by buttkicker machine gets it down to the inside and slid forward nice and tidily. But behind these two, it is a 25-second gap to Danny Roberts in the 43. I think David Sirois should be able, with 6 laps to go, to be able to minimize the bleeding to that degree. Although having said that, he's losing about 8 seconds a lap. 8 times 6 is what, 40-something odd seconds. He may end up dropping outside of the top 15.
I think a portion of that is just him having to go that wide at the hairpin
to get out of people's way.
To get out of people's way. So I think some of that will go away once he gets passed here by Rodriguez and Gabe Wood, and once that happens, I think he won't lose quite as much time.
Fingers crossed. In terms of losing time, I think Taylor knows that there's no point pushing with the championship leader already 3 seconds in front. The wise thing to do in a race like this, I don't want to say be a hero, but be smart. bring back the points and look to fight another day.
Absolutely. As soon as Rasmus was as far in front of Matt Taylor as he was coming out of the pits, Matt Taylor knew that he had to switch directly into championship mode, and he's got a really strong finish here on the podium. He can't afford to throw that away, trying to chase down the unicorn that is Mike Rasmus in front of him.
So while these guys fight, Gabe Wood, David Sirois have swapped around as Wood, through the fountain, has made a mistake. Richie Hearn is having technical issues, by the way. Not sure if that's going to resolve itself in time or not, but Richie was inside of the top 5. That will be a disappointment for him, but we will wait and see. I'm now trying to figure out what happened to the 04, to that JD Esports Gabe Wood car.
And Richie Hearn, by the way, he did disconnect and is reconnected here, but he is going to be at least 1, if not 2 laps down by the time he reconnects, so just unfortunate for Richie there.
Oh, it's self-inflicted. That's the worst part for Gabe Wood, who was in a fight with Rodriguez. They were pushing each other. One
and that
silly
was right
mistake.
In front of Campbell, too.
And yeah, it was in front of the leader. One silly mistake. Oh, those are the ones that will sting the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Gabe Wood will be kicking himself for that, and he's back behind David Sirois as well, who is staring down the barrel of a top 10 on the back of Richie Hearn's misfortunes as well. So it's all gone a little bit topsy-turvy here for a few drivers here in these last few laps. We only have 4 laps to go, and this is the closest battle on track between Fraser and Luke Daniels. And it seems like every time Luke Daniels has gotten close to Fraser, Fraser has found a way to get back around him through strategy, but I don't think there's any strategy that's going to save Fraser at this point.
I've just been, by the way, digging through the history books of the Lionheart Retro Series. Only twice has a driver on debut won their first ever race. Now, of course, the first was the first ever winner. With everyone on debut, yes. In Season 1, Jason Galvin became the first debut winner, but he became the first winner as well. Then, a couple of the next season, it was Alex Saunders, a name that will strike fear into many a competitor here in Lionheart, that won on debut at Watkins Glen, one of 11 wins in 31 starts. It's a select club. Sean Campbell could be starting a legacy that will scare those behind him in today's race.
Yeah, and Saunders, definitely one of the stoutest competitors that we've seen in a Lotus 79 car in the Retro Series. I raced against him several times, and at a certain point it just became automatic for him, and I see a lot of qualities of Saunders in Campbell and the way he's driven this race, because he really hasn't put a wheel wrong, and he's just, as he said, controlled that pace at the front. Once he got that 10-11 second gap, he hasn't pushed too hard. He's just sort of maintain that gap back to Mike Rasmus, and he's done a great job. But again, the battle on track right now, Adam Fraser and Luke Daniels on your screen right now.
Oh, and these two have been doing it for a while. This has been a lot of fun to watch. And they'll do it with still 3 laps left to play. We've had a couple of really close championships in this Lionheart Retro Series. And of course, a couple of blowouts. The likes, of course, of Ryan Otis a couple of years ago, where he won by, what was it, almost 200 points or something like that. Last year, tied Aaron Morgan, Matt Taylor at the very end of the championship, confusing the commentators, confusing race control alike. 20 minutes of confusion as we figured it out. Aaron Morgan crowned your winner and count back. And then back in Season 2, Alex Saunders became one of the unluckiest people in the championship, losing by 1 point to one of the best Lionheart has ever seen, Adam Blocker. What a series this is, and still a long way to go. Even though Rasmus runs in second, it has anyone's championship. Just think to what happened at the end of 2021. 2 laps to go, and Taylor has dropped to 3.5 seconds back. Let's do our damage report. Check in with David Sirois, running in 10th, 6.5 seconds in front of Danny Roberts, with a lap and a half left to go.
Yeah, so if you're David Sirois, you're just doing everything you possibly can to preserve this top 10, but at the same time, you have to be cognizant of, you just need to get the car home at this point. So if you can get it home in front of Danny Roberts, that's a bonus, but you need to be able to find a way to get that car home. He's done a great job so far keeping it on the track, but he's still got a long way to go.
And as these cars fight, winding out of the final corner with less than 2 miles left to go, Sean Campbell is ready to insert himself into the Lionheart history book, into the Lionheart championship equation. Back to Fraser and back to Daniels. With just under 2 laps left to play, Daniels is running out of time.
He definitely is, but he's still got a lot of opportunity left. He's right on the back of that car of Adam Fraser, and there are a number of opportunities left. He just has to find a way to get the run going here. And one of the main opportunities left in his chamber of bullets here is coming up on this straightaway. This straightaway right here. He's got to find a way to get that run going. I just don't think he's quite close enough.
In a lot of ways for Daniels, just getting another top 10 will be a victory. Lanini goes around in 18th spot. He was already 4 laps adrift, will not cause him too much damage. For Fraser and Daniels, 1 lap left for them to battle for 6th. But what a day it is. Only 2 drivers have won on debut in the 6 years of the Lionheart Retro Series. 2 legends of this championship. Today, Sean Campbell puts the series on notice, conquering the streets of Long Beach and winning the Sim Race 24/7 Grand Prix of Long Beach, presented by Gomez Sim Industry in dominant fashion on debut. What a drive from Sean Campbell in the 26 RSR by buttkicker entry.
What a drive indeed. That is just pure domination from Campbell, wire to wire. But we still have a battle on track. It is not done. It is Adam Fraser. It is Luke Daniels. And Luke Daniels is right on the back of that number 88 car.
He'll get one more chance if he can get the run out of turn 7 onto EC side way. Daniels could have a lob. Looks to be a little too far behind. 3-4 car lengths away from being able to sling it into the braking zone. We started with 28 cars. 8 of them will finish on the lead lap, which, is Daniels trying to push all the way to the end. Will spin it around, will lose the spot to David Rodriguez. Minimal loss after that one, but pushing all to the way to the end, Luke Daniels finds out just how treacherous Long Beach can be.
With one final incident, we cap off an incredible Long Beach race that we've seen here today. But that man right there, that 26 car of Sean Campbell, what a debut from this driver. What can you say about the domination that we've seen here today?
The 3rd debut winner in the Lionheart Retro Series. A quick gander through the record books of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, and an unofficial count here. 5 drivers have done it in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. It is a rare thing. On a technical, tricky track, Sean Campbell continues the momentum that he's built up here on iracespottv. Let's run you down through the Sim Race 24/7 race results after the 64 laps of action on the streets of Long Beach. It is a dominant victory for the 26th debut Sean Campbell machine. However, the major story is the fact that for the first time, the margin of victory is over a second. For the first time, pole position has dominated into HyperX victory lane. For Mike Rasmussen, the points leader coming into tonight, there's not much more that he could have done to finish in second in front of many of his championship rivals. Matt Taylor rounds up the podium positions in front of his teammate Chris Fowler in the Madworks Motorsports number 20, with Guyon, Fraser, Rodriguez, and Daniels, the rest of the cars left on the lead lap. 9th on back finish, at least 1 lap down, with Gabe Wood in front of Danny Roberts to finish the top 10. David Sirott drops to 11th with a closing race incident for him. Very disappointing, I'm sure, while Ricky Harding, Craig Forsyth, Hugo Gallus, Trevor Malone, Mark Cohn, Richie Hearn, Chris Lanini, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, and George Anzaldo bookend the top 20. Callisto Valiocus Munoz, 21st through 23rd, with Reagan, Herrick, and Wenzen all getting caught out on the same lap with Cristobal Valenzuela. For Michael O'Brien, what a disappointment this will be. 2nd in the points, and with so much pace on the road courses, did not get the chance to display that. And to add the cherry on top of the icing, that was the dessert that Sean Campbell enjoyed today. Fastest lap in the very dying stages on the penultimate lap of the race. And that will bring us into a HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play. HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. Let's not wait around as Sean Campbell continues to celebrate in HyperX victory lane. Let's bring on in the Madworks Motorsports number 8, Matt Taylor, coming home in 3rd position. Matt, you had to contend with some damage to the front wing of your car through most of the race, but any race in Long Beach where you survive and you finish on the podium is a race to remember.
Yeah, I am wore out. I think all of us are probably about the same. That was a long, grueling race.
From your perspective, in terms of strategy, talk to us about the call to pit a little bit early in the final stanza of the race. We kind of thought that, of course, the overcut would work better, but you had to gamble, you had to try and get out of traffic.
Yeah, and that was the thing, was lap traffic was not friendly a lot of the night, and I lost an easy second in a lap behind Luke, and I didn't know if he was going to get out of the way, and so decided to go ahead and cut in. And it looked like Mike had a much easier time getting through there than I anticipated, and the overcut worked really well for him.
I think we talked to you a couple of weeks ago, and you said with where you sit in the championship, the only thing you can do is do your best. 3rd today, with the championship leader in front of you. Yes, it could have been better, but at the very least, there's momentum, there's form on your side.
Yeah, running really good races and managing to keep it clean. We'll just have to keep running like this and hope he makes a mistake. He hasn't done it yet. Maybe he won't, but we're going to find out.
From your perspective as well, with Sean Campbell, putting a stamp on this race on debut, with half the remaining races still road courses, how does that factor into how you think about a potential championship run?
I think he is probably going to take... I wouldn't be shocked if he won the rest of these road courses by any stretch, which means those points are going to be that much harder to come by. Now, if you can beat him, that's great, but doing that's going to be a tall order. I might have been able to keep up with him tonight, just got stuck behind his teammate and didn't qualify worth a darn, so that doesn't help.
The pressure in qualifying is real, I'll tell you, Matt. Great drive today to 3rd. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time when we go to the Twin Ring Motegi Grand Prix course.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Matt Taylor, 3rd on the grid. 3rd at the end of the race, excuse me. In the Madworks Motorsports number 8, we jump to the championship leader who extends the gap, Mike Razmas, the best of the rest, in a race where one man dominates. Razmas able to, at the very least, put his stamp on the race. And Mike, a great day for you, being able to work the strategy to get up to 2nd come the checkered flag.
Yeah, that's a bit of a relief. That was a tough race. It's always tough at Long Beach, but the car is so much fun to drive. But just happy to be P2. I mean, that's really great for me. And I've had trouble at Long Beach in the Retro Series and the IndyCar Series. I tend to not finish those races, so I was really focused on trying to get it to the finish, and I was able to do that, and I'm really excited. And I thought me and Matt Taylor were on the same strategy, which I was happy about, but then he pitted early, so that was interesting.
Yeah, we did too, until he tried the undercut there. As we head to these closing stages of the season, it's been a good year for you, but we got some surprises still left in store. With half the tracks being road courses and 3 very different type of ovals, what's your mindset heading into the closing stages of 2022?
Yeah, I'm trying not to get too nervous about this points lead. I think if I stay up there as best I could, I'm just going to do my best. And, our whole team's, the point of this is just to have fun, and it's a great hobby, and we're passionate about racing, and we want to race hard, but we also want to make sure that we all have a good time doing it. So luckily that's worked out for us this year so far. We have a couple great wins amongst my other teammates, and just going to try to keep having fun and enjoying these races, trying to finish, doing my thing. That's all I can really do at this point.
And you're kind of fighting for a championship on 2 fronts. Of course, fighting for the Drivers' Championship, but also Graphics LC Motorsports, after the Madworks Motorsports team kind of ran away with the team championships in the early part of the season. You've caught it back and you've jumped to the front of the championship there as well. What's the mindset for the team like? I know Tyler Graf was missing today, but there's still plenty of challenges to come. It's going to require you 3 to be united, to be delivering results, to come on top in that team championship fight.
Yeah, we've been having some fun with strategy lately. At the last race at Michigan, we ended up 3 of us leading out front for a while, and that was kind of super cool and fun. So, I think if we just keep working hard and trying to get everyone as far up the grid as possible, then hopefully we'll just keep having consistent points finishes, and that's how you win those team championships. Just keep finishing in top 10s, top 15s, and there's plenty of time left. So hopefully we'll stay close to the lead.
Consistency wins championships, and Mike Rasmus, the championship leader, comes home second here on the streets of Long Beach. Congratulations, Mike. We'll see you next time from Motegi.
Thank you.
Mike Rasmus, always a great chat in the racespottv broadcast booth. I believe we're now joined in HyperX Victory Lane by the one and only Sean Campbell. Sean, do you have a copy?
Can you hear me?
We got you loud and clear. That's a relief. I know you were furiously working away, not necessarily expecting to be chatting with us, but what a debut. Just the third driver in series history to win in their very first start, and what a dominant way to do it as well. 15 seconds clear of those behind you.
Yeah, it was just I just hitting my marks, I guess, right? Yeah, I didn't have to do anything super outlandish or out there, you know?
You come in with a lot of road course experience. We've seen that on racespottv in the past. Are we expecting to see you for the rest of the 6 races we have in store in 2022? How are you looking forward to, how are you thinking you're going to approach the ovals?
Ovals are, I'd say they're tough. They're not what I'm used to, I guess. But they should be very interesting. And yeah, I'm hoping to see if I can find some time to do the rest of the races, because it was a lot of fun.
Got some good teammates to be able to help you when it comes to the ovals as well. David Rodriguez, very, very good when it comes to fuel saving. When it comes to you and the team behind you, getting more and more of your drivers interested in this championship, interested in this Lotus 79. You know, coming from your GT experience and the road racing background, talk to us about your thoughts on this open wheel beast.
Yeah, I mean, I used to drive it a lot in the past, but it's definitely a lot different from the cars that I do now. And
well, sorry, I'm going to kind of jump in there because you say you've driven it a lot in the past. What's it like coming back to the car with all the changes that it's had in tire models? We're seeing tire changes on the ovals now as well, something we never thought we'd see in 2021.
It's I guess you'd say it's a breath of fresh air. It's a whole lot different to what I'm doing now, and I don't know. I don't remember it too well. I just remember it being a lot of fun, and it still is.
We're glad you're here enjoying the car again. What a day it was, and hopefully in just under a month's time we'll see you repeat on the road course at Motegi. Great drive today, Sean. Congratulations on the first of many victories.
Thanks.
Sean Campbell from the RSR by Buttkicker team joins us from HyperX Victory Lane, and what a day it was for him. And we mentioned it before, and Andrew, we go to a track, a facility purpose-built for IndyCar to make its stamp in Japan. And while the oval at Motegi is damaged and no longer in use, the road course still gets plenty of visits from Super Formula, from Super GT. It's a technical track with difficulty in elevation change as well. I'm very curious what it will play out like with these Lotus 79s.
Yeah, you and I have had this discussion before. It's one of your favorite tracks. It's one of my least favorite tracks. But it certainly is a challenge. And that's all you can ask for in a car like this is you have a challenging car, you have a challenging track. And this track, I think, will suit the Lotus 79 a lot. You don't have quite the long straightaways that you need in an Indy car to really make it exciting. But certainly the straightaways that you have on this track in a Lotus 79, they're plenty long enough, and they have really nice braking zones here on this track to have some great side-by-side action. So really looking forward to what this will do on the road course. And then, of course, 1 week after that, we go right to the oval and see what it can do on the oval as well. But this entire schedule that we've got for the close of this season, some really, really strong tracks as we close out the season.
It is quite stop and start. Every time I look at this schedule, I get reminded, I get surprised by that. Just over a month between now and our next round as we enter the final third of the campaign. Then just a week off before we return to Motegi, but like Andrew said, to the Oval this time, a place that we've raced at many a time before. Then 3 weeks before we go to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and to the city of Montreal. Drivers looking to stay out of the Wall of Champions as we go there for the very first time. And then again, a back-to-back race weekend and the short track. In the shadow of the Gateway Arch, we head to the Worldwide Technology Raceway. A couple of weeks later, America's National Park of Speed builds us to the double points, Triple Crown Showdown. All roads lead to Auto Club to close off the season. It is always a place where fireworks are guaranteed, and not just at the end of the race. What a day this was. Sean Campbell making history. But before we say goodbye, as always, we thank those that make this possible, starting with the title sponsor of the Lionheart Retro Series. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer devoted to creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel what it's like to drive a race car. Buttkicker haptic hardware and software are easy to install and let you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before. Moser Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products, like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, Moser Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane. And Gomez Sim Industries, makers of high-end esports equipment and controls, precision built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com. And it's not just them, but so many more that make this all possible. To learn more about the Lionheart Racing Series, the 3 competition it puts forward, or its various partners, head over to LionheartRacingSeries.com, while you can stay up to date on social media to find out the latest news from within the virtual paddock. What a day it was in Long Beach, a race of attrition, a race dominated by a debutant that put his stamp on this championship. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time as we head to the land of the rising sun and a doubleheader at Twin Ring Motegi. Before then, Lionheart IndyCar Series heads to the Worldwide Technology Raceway next Wednesday for the HyperX 200 at Gateway. Join us on Wednesday, August 24th at 10 p.m. Eastern at 7 p.m. Pacific for round 15 of the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series presented by Buttkicker. It will be a long wait for the drivers of the Lionheart Retro Series before they get underway for the HyperX Grand Prix of Motegi, but they have been put on notice by one man and one dominant force. Sean Campbell led almost every lap here today, became the first driver to convert pole position to HyperX victory lane on the streets of Long Beach. Thank you for joining us on racespottv on a Thursday evening for the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. For Andrew Kinsella, for myself, Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to have your company. We'll see you next time for the Lionheart Retro Series as we head to the land of the rising sun. For now, we bow down to the force that is Sean Campbell, the 26 RSR by Buttkicker entry.